Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, in London, England, as well as Paris, France. Of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free, and the home of the brave on a beautiful December the 28th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, we've had a deluge of rain down here. You're talking about flood stage rain that we've had. But I think a lot of that was tears, Charlton, coming from heaven.
Yeah.
You know, the oldest man in the United States and the oldest surviving World War II veteran passed away yesterday, Charlton, Richard Overton. He served in World War II. He was an African-American soldier, Charlton, who had to serve in segregation in his own country, Charlton, and was not able to be rewarded in those parades that were passed out for soldiers returning from World War II, Charlton. He had to return to a country of segregation and oppression.
Wow.
But you think about the passion to live, Charlton, from Mr. Overton.
Wow.
Surviving 112 years in this country. This was a man that was born, you know, basically at the end of slavery.
Yeah.
When you think about it. And, you know, born in 1860.
Wow.
You know, to survive this long, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, you know, a great life by this cherished member. You know, President Obama had honored him in the White House, Charlton.
Yeah.
And to see so much evolution over time, Charlton, from his birth to his death, to see how America and society had changed, Charlton.
Yeah.
But it hasn't changed enough. It still needs to have more change in it. But just a celebration of a great life for Mr. Overton, Charlton. And, you know, all our sympathies and prayers go out to his family for a true American treasure.
Wow.
A man that survived 112 years in this country.
That's amazing when you think about what it takes just to survive one day. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to him and his family. I want to say today's segment sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. I just want to say for anyone, like you always say, Big C, I say, what are you grateful for? You say waking up. And waking up is something that's a gift. Every day is a present. We all celebrate Christmas just recently, and people can't wait to get down and open up a present, or maybe they want to be grateful that they accepted Christ in their heart. Whatever it is, whatever that person's reason, that's their own reason. But for a man to wake up 365 days a year for 112 years, that's a blessing from the universe. That's how blessed he was to see that many days. And unfortunately, he had to see a lot of it at times, because as God blessed him and gave him a long life, there were a lot of times where society didn't treat him with the respect he deserved, especially, Big C, when you mentioned that he fought for a country that turned his back on him. He still fought with pride. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, this is a man that was born during World War I, Charlton, and, you know, dealt with a segregated military and a segregated society, was never given the respect as a young man that he deserved, you know, in sacrificing for this country, Charlton, fighting for this country, to serve this country with honor. As we have people now in the Oval Office who don't think that there's an honor in serving in the military, because they dodged it like they were playing a game of dodgeball.
Dodgeball, yeah, still dodgeball.
And, you know, but Mr. Overton, Charlton, you think about what African-American men had to go through during his lifetime.
Yep.
This man had one of the most oppressed lives, Charlton, that you could think about growing up. He grew up when lynching was prevalent in America, when Woodrow Wilson was viewing Birth of a Nation in the White House.
His favorite movie.
And praising the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
And this man had to live through that, Charlton, and then he had to go fight for the country. He went and fought people, Charlton, that probably didn't hate him worse than the people that he had to live with when he came back home.
That's true.
He probably would have been treated better over in Europe during that time.
Yeah.
But he went and fought with dignity and heroism for his country, Charlton. He came back to an oppressed society, but he strided on, Charlton, because of his knowledge and what he learned and what he saw around the world.
Yeah.
He knew that, you know, all he had to do was keep trying to make things better. And, you know, to last 112 years in this country, I know we just lost former President Bush, who was 94 years old, Charlton,
Yeah.
a month ago, and, you know, the great celebration for him. He was a World War II veteran, just like Mr. Overton was, Charlton, a World War II veteran, even though they probably never crossed paths
Yeah.
during wartime. But think about the polarization of these two men, Charlton.
Yeah.
What they meant to American society, the uplifting that these African-American soldiers did for black America, Charlton, to show that we were equal to our white brethren, Charlton, in the battle and safety of this country.
Yeah. And that's, yeah.
Even with all the oppression that was given to blacks, Charlton, they still went and fought for this country, even though they never had rights.
That's amazing. And because I'm such a science buff, I always say genetically, people can say what they want to say, but the black gene called the dominant gene, according to Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel, is the only gene on the planet that can reproduce itself with any ethnic group. That's called black people. And there's a reason we've been so, I guess you could say, hoodwinked or resisted by a mainstream that, instead of embracing their natural fathers, genetically speaking, the science doesn't lie. A black man can go anywhere on the planet, miscegenate with any ethnic group on the planet, and still reproduce his seed. Like Colossians 1:15. Christ was made in the image of his Father. Anywhere you go, you can reproduce yourself. And I think that's something that we're going to help stamp out racism, at least on Big C Sports, because black men are so powerful anywhere. Their seed has been lynched. Their seed has been enslaved. Their seed has been, unfortunately, castrated. Their seed has had syphilis injected into it by the United States government, the Tuskegee Institute. Their seed has been part of the criminal justice system, the prison industrial complex. That seed has been marginalized. That same seed has had voter oppression. That same seed had to fight for civil rights. That same seed had Senator John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, had shed his blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. That same seed that produced the Rosa Parks. It's like the Phoenix, Big C. It's like the universe says, you will always rise. I think as young people of color, be proud of who we are. And mainstream needs to get on board. They've always stolen everything anyway, but still the origin of mankind. It came from Africa, Dr. Leakey and Gregor Mendel. I think if more people know that gentleman would not have had to go through such hell, Big C, and he did it with a class. That make any sense, Big C?
Well, Charlton, you know, when you look at how society was during that time in America, minorities did not have any opportunity, Charlton. Even getting into the military was a struggle.
Yeah.
Because the military saying, well, you know, they didn't have the ability to understand. When you look at the feats of black soldiers during the World War II, Charlton, you look at the red-tailed pilots of the Tuskegee Airmen, Charlton.
Best in the world.
It's the greatest fighting force in the world, airmen in the world during that time. I mean, there was a lot of praise given to former President Bush for being a fighter pilot, Charlton, and he was shot down.
Yep.
But these Tuskegee Airmen, Charlton, had the greatest percentage of battle wins of any wing of the United States Air Force during World War II, Charlton, and they still never received that praise.
Google it.
For being, you know, having an opportunity to be celebrated by the White House administration, Charlton, for their heroics in World War II. But it just showed the ingenuity and the progression of black people during that time, Charlton. Give us a task, we get captured.
Yep.
And it's been that way all along, Charlton.
Yep.
When you look at the inventions and the creations of America for our cities, you know, things that make our lives easy every day.
Yep.
You know, it's like, I've always wondered about this when they said that Ben Franklin, you know, found electricity.
Right.
And people have to be realistic with themselves. Ben Franklin wasn't out there holding that kite in that thunderstorm. It was one of his slaves who discovered electricity, okay?
Yeah.
Ben Franklin was the owner, so he got the property rights to that job, the patent to it.
Yeah.
But his slaves showed him how to do that.
Yeah.
And as much as people want to say, it's like the cotton gin, slaves created that job and they designed Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to be honest about the evolution of a minority culture, Charlton, that cultivated America.
Yeah.
And give them credit for that, Charlton. Don't say that they were lazy and shiftless. You took their ideas because they could not stand up and go get a patent, Charlton, because you owned them.
Well, I just think knowledge is so eye-opening, Big C. It's just like when the sun rises, usually about 6 o'clock p.m. At least in the Western Hemisphere of the United States. It illuminates things, and when you illuminate things, people can see it. And that's why my whole mantra for 2019 will be, we're on the #1 sports network in the United States of America, the #1 media network in the United States of America. I just want to encourage people to Google where mankind came from. Because once we do that, Big C, you can't say you don't know any better. And in order for people to respect their root better, they got to know that they came from that same root that they tried to discriminate against. I do want to say that a happy birthday to the great Denzel Washington, 64 years young today. He's half the age, Big C, of the gentleman that we just paid homage to out of Texas. Imagine that, how great Denzel's life has been compared to the gentleman that we just gave homage to, Big C. 64 years old. Mr. Overton, 64 years old, the great Denzel. And then also John Legend turned 40 years old today. But I want to just take a moment to talk about Denzel Washington. Because we talked about Mr. Overton. How does Denzel's life compare to him? I think for the United States of America, in fact, anywhere in the universe, watch the movie produced by the great Spike Lee. Of many of them, but Malcolm X, especially for people of color. See that movie and learn something about where your history came from and how we got to this country. I think if we do more of that, Big C, there'll be less maybe black on black crime. There'll be less other people feeling desperate like they don't belong or that they don't fit in. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, one of the things I always appreciate about looking at not Malcolm X, but Denzel Washington movie, it is the passion that he portrays in his on-screen roles. You can see that he's in depth, that he's in character in these roles. I know we talk about Malcolm X. You know, there's two movies that I've always really loved that he's done, Charlton. They never got the real acclaim of the others, Charlton. One was called Man on Fire, where he was a bodyguard for a little girl.
Yeah.
Another was John Q, where his son needed a heart transplant.
I remember that one. Yep.
And both of those movies, Charlton, showed the love of a parent. What a parent will do for their child, Charlton, just based on love, which is unconditional.
Yeah.
It's not something that you have to go out and learn, Charlton. It's just an unconditional thing. And then Denzel Washington played those roles so profoundly, Charlton, brought tears to my eyes. Those two are still, to me, are the greatest movies that he's ever done. They don't get the acclaim of the others because they're not box office smash hits.
Right.
But for a parent, if you are a parent and you want to know what it's like to love and care for your child through somebody's eyes, look at Denzel Washington's two movies.
Yep.
John Q and Man on Fire.
Yeah.
This will tell you what a parent's supposed to do, and it's portrayed by a black man.
Yeah, by a black man, and that's why I think about as we learn more about black history. I'm very well read on black history, especially going back to the Egyptian Empire, and also if you think about the Dark Ages and the Ottoman centuries. There's an author by the name of Lord Kinross, and he talked about Ottoman centuries. That's about black Americans. They call them the Turks nowadays, Big C. But going all the way back to Egypt, people got to realize Egypt, it was the birthplace of civilization, a black society, Big C. So if people know that, when you see this garbage, Ancestry.com, your ancestry goes all the way back to the Nile region of Africa. It didn't start in Italy. So even when they do that stuff, I hate the fact that they're ignorant about it, and they don't want to acknowledge where the whole root comes from. I do want to talk about a few things that happened in celebrity news for 2018 as Big C Sports. We're not just some intellectually vapid sports guys that only talk about, man, you see who won the game? Do you see how big and fast that guy is? No, that's for other dumb people. I want to eradicate ignorance in 2019. Celebrity news. Megyn Kelly, who used to work on Fox, and she got a chance to work with NBC Network. Her show was canceled. Okay, this is 2018. Now, here's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman, eugenic woman, okay, that's been told all her life that she's America's darling, which is not true. But she did a skit on blackface in 2018. And she was so ignorant, she said, well, she didn't know it would be offensive because it was a Halloween skit. Just ignorant. Don't make excuses for it. That was ignorant. Big C, if they ever had a thing on blackface where they were just lynching white girls, like it's happened at some time in this country, but that happened to thousands of black people. And oftentimes they did the blackface skit to denigrate our people. So Megyn Kelly, who's been considered blonde hair, blue eyes, whether she's bleached or not, is still a recessive trait. But for her to use blackface as a comedic skit to denigrate people who come from the original people on the planet, and she lost her position in her show at NBC. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, that's her MO as far as how she thinks. She didn't think it was not offensive, Charlton. She knows the offensiveness of that action. And I'm proud of NBC for dismissing her for that, Charlton. And to show that you just can't go out and act in all television like you would act on Fox television where she came from.
Yeah.
But, this is how she lives her life, Charlton. She came out in public and thought that, people would be accepting of it because that's how she lives her life.
Yep.
And so when you see these situations of people doing this, the apologies, I don't know why they want to come out with an apology.
Right.
It's like when Roseanne Barr's show was canceled, Charlton.
Yeah.
Because she wanted to make racial epithet statements.
Yeah.
And saying, well, she apologized. This conversation goes on all the time in someone's home.
Yeah.
Of their racial displeasure towards another culture, Charlton.
Yeah.
But when they get out in public, they've said it so much at home, they say it in public.
Yeah.
So that apologetic nature, Charlton, no one cares to hear that. But no one cares to hear the racial rhetoric either. So, behold, when you do this, is that people recognize the harm that you brothers and the venom that you spew.
Yep.
And you're going to have to pay the task for it, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so Roseanne paid it, Megyn Kelly paid it, and many others. It's just like the Me Too movement, Charlton.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement was started by black women.
Yep.
As much as people want to say it's a current movement of women, no, black women have always fought against the oppression that they've had since slavery, Charlton.
Yep.
Since they could not have voting rights, anything, Charlton. They've been oppressed throughout American society.
Yeah.
The Me Too movement is just a fringe of what black women have done since they've come to this country, Charlton.
Ida B. Wells, Rosa Parks, Google them, Harriet Tubman. They were doing the Me Too movement a long time before white ladies started doing it. Also, my gift to Roseanne Barr and also to Megyn Kelly, I want them to Google Dr. Gregory Mendel and Dr. Louis S.B. Leakey. Learn about where your ancestry came from. They were black. You're just a recessive trait of that blackness. Google that so you don't stay ignorant going into 2019, Big C. Also, ignorance can come in all shapes and fashions. You have the great Kevin Hart, a comedian, a Hollywood favorite. Well, I guess he pulled out or got disinvited from hosting the Oscars because he did some homophobic jokes that he thought was funny. That a lot of people who are dealing with their own sexuality, they come under hatred. Some are beaten, some are harmed just because of their orientation. And just because you're a black man who should know better, it doesn't mean you can make fun of that with impunity. Our society's not dumb anymore. And so I would hope that he would have more humor that's based on intelligence as opposed to racial insults, which he does a lot of that. But hey, they made him a rich man by doing it. So hopefully he'll grow some consciousness also. If you're intelligent, there's a guy named D.L. Hughley. I wish he had more airtime, but he's too brilliant for mainstream to say, well, he's not a sycophant. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when I think about Kevin Hart, he took himself off the Oscar thing, is what he did. He was the host, and he took himself off. But, when you go back, you can look into any comedian's past, Charlton.
Yeah.
And when Kevin Hart started doing those things, they pull up stuff that was 10 years ago that he had done. I mean, there's no comedian that doesn't use racial epithets of something towards some ethnic group, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so that's what comedy is. Understand the content of what they're doing. If they're out and argumentatively trying to hurt somebody, it's been different. But comedians make fun of themselves first. They talk about everybody in the crowd, whether they're black, white, Asian, Hispanic, even of a different, sexual orientation. They've always done that. But they don't go out and do that in a harmful way, Charlton. They do it in a joking fashion. And, for Kevin Hart to have gotten the backlash, you think about it. How many people in America should lose whatever they had because they've made something negative towards a black person, Charlton? Think about that. How much society will have lost if everybody loses their job or their position because they've made a racial statement, Charlton? I think one of the things is that people have gone overboard
Yeah.
when it comes to this oversensitivity about what somebody could say. You know, this country was built on freedom of speech.
Yeah.
There's no line in the freedom of speech of the Constitution that says, I can't say this word. You know, this thing that's called political correctness. We have a president that nobody has fired for all of the things that's negative that he has said about people.
Good point.
But other people are losing their jobs, Charlton, and their positions because they say something that they've always said. I've always been in a position, Charlton, and it's that old analogy. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Have we become so desensitized in society that whatever somebody says, we have to run scrutiny on it?
Right.
We have too many problems in this country to worry about the word analogy of other individuals, and especially when they're in entertainment.
Yeah.
Is that this person now has to be censored about everything they say. You think about Howard Stern, great radio personality, Charlton. No one ever would censor Howard Stern because his mouth got him to be where he was. I mean, he couldn't be on mainstream radio because of the things that he was saying.
Yeah.
You know, I look at Bill Maher, who is now on HBO, and Bill Maher started off on ABC.
Yeah.
But because of the things he said, we can't have you on because you criticize the president.
Yeah.
If you're going to criticize, you can't do it on television. So he lost his job, but he had a job the next week, Charlton, on a cable network.
Yep.
So we're in a society that we have more problems than the verbiage that one person will say, Charlton. That is going to construct everybody's life and livelihood. It's not. So when Kevin Hart, even D.L. Hughley has used these words also, Charlton.
Yeah.
But I can't think of a comedian, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. George Lopez, I love him to death. But if you sit up and you listen to some of the things that George says, it's like, okay, he's racist.
Right.
He talks about Mexicans, he talks about whites, he talks about Asians.
Yep.
There's a Asian comedian lady, Jenny Chu, I think is her name.
Yeah.
She's marvelous. And you know, when I'm sitting there listening to him, I mean, Richard Pryor could have never done anything. He left no stones unturned.
None.
Eddie Murphy, you go back and watch Eddie Murphy Raw. I mean, everybody saw that.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at him in Raw, who he attacked.
Yeah.
Everybody, Charlton.
Yep.
But everybody looked at it as comedic.
Yeah.
It was comedic, not attacking a person. He's not walking up to a person of a different sexual orientation on the street,
right,
and attacking that person, Charlton. More white society have attacked another sexual orientation person than anybody else, than any African American, any Hispanic, any Asian, Charlton.
Yeah.
White society have attacked them more than anybody. I think about a great movie that was made back in the 80s, Charlton. It was called And the Band Played On.
Yeah.
And it was about the origin of AIDS in America. If anybody wants to see how people were treated of a different sexual orientation, Charlton, as lepers and whatever else you want to treat them, and it wasn't done by mainstream society. It was done by mainstream society.
Yeah.
But the one movie, Charlton, that got the most acclaim on how bad people were treated that were in that lifestyle, Charlton, by mainstream society. Look at the movie Philadelphia. By Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
One of the greatest, I would say, it was the Pandora's box to open up AIDS awareness in this country, Charlton. That, you know, these were people, you know, and Tom Hanks, Larry Steenburgen was in the movie, I believe. Denzel Washington was in the movie, Charlton.
Yeah.
Go look at the movie Philadelphia and see if you've been racist in your lifetime.
That's a very good point, Big C. Very important. Even on that same genre, if you watch a movie like anything that's been produced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California, in all of his movies, he kills like 50 people. He doesn't really go around doing that. So if he was depicted as a person who's going to go around killing people, then he wouldn't have become governor of California. Or maybe he would have, you never know. But also, when you have guys like Sylvester Stallone, they made Rambo, they made movies based on killing people, made them very wealthy and famous. So I understand that the guys who make a living speaking, sometimes they can be very, very, you know, touchy-feeling on the side of the fence, depending on what side of the fence you're on. And I can understand that sentiment as well, Big C. So we got to make sure, even myself, I got to check myself because I can be a little bit self-righteous too until I listened to you explain things. I was like, wait a minute. One of my favorite comedians is Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor, I used to have to sneak to listen to Richard Pryor, but he also was funny as well as self-deprecating. So very good point, Big C. Last thing, Kanye West, sat on POTUS' lap for the holidays, or was it before the holidays? Even though I think if he grows more intelligence, he'll realize how denigrating that looked based on how the man has treated people of color, whether they're trying to build a wall as the new people to face discrimination. Big C, I want to say sports is a billion-dollar industry. Boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or your mom and pop soccer league, when you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you. Big C, a lot of football games coming up this weekend. I mean, some are being played tonight, obviously. And as we always tell people, when you follow Big C Sports right now, you can get real sports talk worldwide. Just download the app on the #1 network in the United States of America for Big C Sports. I want to get on a game, Auburn of the SE. They demolished Purdue today, 63-14, in the Music City Bowl. They should call that the Beatdown Bowl, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you're going to have a lot of beats when you play music, Charlton. And you think about, what Auburn did today, Charlton. They scored 56 points in the first half.
Wow.
28 points in the first quarter, 28 points in the second quarter. They had to take the players out of the game so they would stop scoring. But when I look at the dismantling of Purdue, Charlton, and this is what it's coming down to, too many bowl games. We're just seeing a plethora of bowl games that really don't mean anything.
Yeah.
But you think about Purdue. Purdue knocked Ohio State
out
of the Bowl Championship Series.
Yeah.
They beat Ohio State earlier this year. They drubbed Ohio State.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even get started against Auburn today, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so this is why on any given Saturday, anybody can have a bad day.
Yeah. I tell you what.
But when you look at this college football legend, Charlton, what good does it serve to have a team beating that badly, Charlton, 63-14, in a game that means nothing as far as title crown, Charlton, or anything? Only people making anything out of this are the universities, Charlton, is receiving revenue.
Yep, lots of money.
When they talk about the pride of the young men playing, Charlton, how much did that do for the Purdue players emotionally? That they got to spend the rest of the winter, Charlton, thinking about the last game that they played, that they gave up 63 points.
Wow.
And I know all this talk in the media now is about the players that are skipping the games, Charlton, because they're not in the national championship race, saying how they're letting their teammates down, Charlton, how that, they've worked all year long with these players, and now they're turning their back on them because they want to protect themselves going to the draft. One of the things that will never be noted, Charlton, throughout the bowl season is the number of injuries that occurred. These media companies and outlets are not going to tell you how many players were injured and not being able to continue on. Matter of fact, Purdue's best defensive lineman, Charlton, was injured in the final game of the season.
Really?
The final game of the season. So you think about that. The final game of the season, he tears his ACL. That's a 6-month recovery time, Charlton. So think about he's a senior. He's not going to be able to go to the combine.
Wow.
So his draft status is mute now. At best, he'll be a free agent. And so so we're getting backlash from the other media segments saying, these guys are being selfish in missing these bowl games that mean nothing, and the team goes out and lose 63-14.
Yeah, that's a shame because you got to keep players healthy, and no one talks about the health of those players. I know there's more games that are happening tonight on the beautiful, the Music City Bowl. Wow, what a beat down. You have also the Camping World game where Syracuse playing West Virginia, and then the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio where Iowa State will play Washington State, and those games are games obviously with not a lot to play for, but it's still a kind of reward. Those games are all in the way, kind of a reward for the season that they've had. But Big C, I know there's a lot of games coming up over the weekend too, and I want to get your thoughts on, the Big Four. Obviously, everybody's looking forward to it. I still want to pay homage to some of the other schools too. Florida's playing Michigan in Atlanta on the Peach Bowl, and you have South Carolina playing Virginia, and that's going to be the Belk Bowl. Is the Belk like someone belched, Dixie? Like someone had too much to drink and belched up? You also have that Arizona Bowl, Arkansas State versus Nevada, and then we get on to some more games down the line that we'll touch on coming over on Monday, Big C. But I want to get your thoughts. These 4 games, this is what everybody plays for, but you mentioned something just the other day. Growing up, I would always stay up to watch the Cotton Bowl, to watch the Rose Bowl, to watch the Fiesta Bowl, and then the Orange Bowl at night. Now, because those were the last games of the weekend, now we have more games after these most important games coming up. 1, 2, almost 10 games coming up after these big games between Oklahoma and Alabama, and then Clemson, Notre Dame. Give me your thoughts. Arlington, Texas, Cotton Bowl, and it's going to be right about a 4 o'clock kickoff, ESPN Eastern Time. And Clemson's favored by 12.5, which I think against Coach Kelly might be too much. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Clemson is going to be without their great defensive tackle Lawrence, who was suspended for doping problem, Charlton, that they found with him. He had a banned substance in his system.
Wow.
And the thing that I look at with these players, Charlton, is that they showed him in an interview talking about, well, I don't know how this happened. Okay, I guess he was sleeping in a mosquito bit or something.
Yeah, got to be careful with mosquitoes.
But let's stop being naive and accepting these unprofound answers, Charlton.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden this guy's become dumb all of a sudden and not knowing what he's suggesting.
Yeah.
All of these universities, especially these major universities, Charlton, and they know that they have these doping programs.
Oh yeah.
They have these nutritionists, just like an NFL team, Charlton. These big major programs that play in these championship series. So you know what you're taking. You're trying to mask it and get around something, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, to sit there, so I take him, so I don't know what happened. I'm cautious of what goes in my body. So, he's suspended, and rightfully so, Charlton.
Yeah.
I think all of these teams, Charlton, have suffered something along that line. Alabama suspended 3 players. Oklahoma will be without a player. But, that game between Notre Dame and Clemson, that's really an ACC championship game, Charlton.
Yeah. Because
Notre Dame is in that conference all except for football because they make a gazillion dollars from NBC, so they don't feel like sharing it. They can make the ACC, the NBC network, with Notre Dame playing a game on there every week still. But they don't want to share that revenue with anybody, Charlton. Good Christian university. But I like this game is closer than I think the 14 points is because I think Clemson will be affected emotionally with the loss of this defensive tackle, Charlton. But I don't know if their quarterback is ready for prime time. He's had some games, Charlton, in big situations, especially late in the season. Lawrence was a little slow in doing what he was doing, getting Clemson off to a good start. I mean, ETN has kept him in the games, one of the best running backs in the country. But this Notre Dame team, Charlton, with Ian Book at quarterback, it's something different about this team. When you think about when the bowl championship started, Charlton, some years ago, it was all about great defense and a running game. I think all 4 teams now have abandoned that aspect, Charlton. We're going to throw the hell out the football. That's what we're going to do. We want to see what you can do on defense. We want to see how fast your defensive backs are. We don't care how strong your defensive line is. We want to see how fast your defensive backs are. So this is what I'm looking at in these 4 games, Charlton. We're looking at a pass-after scenario. If you recall the Rose Bowl last year with Oklahoma and Georgia, Charlton, Oklahoma got off to a blazing start in that game throwing the ball. All of a sudden, somebody put a knee in Baker Mayfield's ribs. He wasn't the same guy.
Welcome
go
to the
back,
SEC.
look at the highlight of it. You'll see it.
Welcome to the
I think it was a linebacker, Roquan Smith. Came in and put a knee in his ribs. And he couldn't throw the ball anymore.
That happened.
Jacob Fromm stepped up to the plate, throwing the ball. They had great running backs in Michelle and Chubbs. But that freshman quarterback did marvelous things. We saw Alabama with Tua. When he came in the second half against Georgia, Charlton, in that game, they dismantled Clemson in the first game. But when he came in, and they changed the whole script about what they do. Colleges now have a plan, Charlton. They don't adjust to the player that they bring in. They adjust their entire offense. Is what they do. When Tua came in, they scrapped the running of Jalen Hurts. And then if you look at the SEC championship game this year, when Tua got hurt, what did they do? They went back to Hurt's strong suit.
Yeah.
They played to the player's strong suit that's calling the plays, Charlton. That's what made college football so different versus pro football.
Yeah.
Is that you have a skill set, and we're going to play to your skill set. We're not going to make you adjust to our offensive scheme that we think about.
Yeah. I think that's important, Big C. I want to make sure your microphone is good. I'm just working on some sound system here. But I just want to say it's a game where national TV ratings would be off the charts if Notre Dame gets back to the national championship game. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I'm saying when you have a point spread that high, you have one of the best players in the country, kicked out of the game for something that he's only done, I'm sure, the only one time in his life. You see, he has some bad meat. If that guy Canelo said he had some bad meat.
It's a bad meat. He had tested positive for steroids.
Yeah, they put steroids in the cow. How can you say I put it in my needle? You never know, Big C. It's all fair and love and war. But I just know this. You just talked about it. Notre Dame, they could be, if they're like Jesus with that touchdown Jesus, number one, they'd pin him black, not gold. But they would also share. Like Jesus said, took 5 loaves and 2 fishes and fed the villagers. Well, Notre Dame's not doing that with their TV money. But if there was a way to, hey, that's a holding call, or that's a targeting call, or that was not offsides, or that was a catch, not a catch, whatever it is, if you're going to see it, you're going to see it with touchdown Jesus involved. If there will be any upset, it's likely that they can find their way somehow into that championship game. You never know. But I want to go across the other side of the line of scrimmage, Big C. When you look at the Orange Bowl down there in Miami Gardens, Florida, you have Alabama, which is really playing a home game because that's their region in the SEC. And then they have Oklahoma, which used to always end their season in Florida, playing in the Orange Bowl. Now, you have Alabama favored by 14. If there's a defensive struggle, which is not going to be, it's tougher to score on Alabama's defense than it is to score on Oklahoma's defense. But, on the other hand, Oklahoma can score easier than Alabama can. Last time they played, Alabama lost to Oklahoma 41-31. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this will be an electrifying game if the weather holds up down in Fort Lauderdale at Hard Rock Stadium, Charlton, for these two teams. I mean, you talk about fireworks. We saw it last year with Oklahoma and Georgia.
Yeah.
We're looking for round 2 this year with Alabama and Oklahoma, Charlton.
Yeah.
People think that Alabama has a tough defense to score on. I mean, Georgia showed the game plan to score on Alabama's defense in the SEC championship game. They showed the vulnerability of that team.
Yeah.
So they're not invincible. Citadel showed that Alabama wasn't invincible, even though they only hung with them for half.
Right.
But when you take those 2 game tapes, Charlton, you can put together a game plan.
Yeah.
And when you have a dynamic player like a Kyler Murray, the Heisman Trophy winner, Charlton, him within himself is almost indefensible. This man has accounted for 38 points at minimum in every one of Oklahoma's games this year, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he's the single most dynamic player in college football. He's going to cause problems for Alabama. But his defense is going to cause problems for him also because I don't think they can stop a leak in a bucket, Charlton.
That's what
I mean, that defense looks like a sieve that you pour water in. It's just coming right on through. But, in a game like this, this is going to be a game of big plays, Charlton.
Yeah.
Who's going to make a couple turnovers? That's going to be the decisive factor in Alabama, Oklahoma. Regardless of people saying, Oklahoma doesn't play defense, they played well enough, Charlton, to win 12 games on defense and almost win 13.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that means that they're competitive. You have to keep up with them.
Yeah.
I mean, you can win a game but you have to keep up with them. That's the thing. You have to outscore Oklahoma. They're not going to lay down for you.
No, they're not going to lay down for you. So it's all fair and love and war. We just want to see some good college football games, and hopefully everybody stays healthy. We know you talked about that before, Big C. NFL playoffs really start this week. It's week 17, and, because of the bye week in a 16-game season, everybody gets a week off. But in week 17, I want to get Big C's thoughts as a run-through in the NFL. It's final weekend of the NFL regular season, but it really is the first week of the playoffs because there will be some teams that will be eliminated just because of what happens this weekend. That's why NFL action is so fantastic. Big C, first thoughts. The Dolphins 7-8 at the Bills 5-10. That's a 1:00 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time on CBS Sports. And the Bills are favored by 4.5. Big C, they're at home against the Dolphins. They have 5 wins, but they're favored by 4.5. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's cold in Buffalo this time of year. You're coming from South Beach. I don't know if you're really motivated to play if you're the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
You're out of the playoffs. The Bills are out of the playoffs, but they're at home, and they're building. They're a team with some momentum.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins right now are trying to restructure where they want to be next year.
Yeah.
So I like the spread in the Bills winning this game, Charlton.
Well, that's a good point, especially with the weather, Big C. The Jets 4-11 at the Patriots 10-5. That's a 1:00 kickoff Eastern Time, CBS Sports. The Patriots favored by 13.5. They may get 13.5, but they're also not looking as strong as they used to be in the past. But you make the playoffs maybe a decade in a row, so they have some leeway there. But the Jets, I don't think they'll get the 5 wins this season, not when they have to finish at New England. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, if you look at the Jets' performance offensively last week, Charlton, you got to give them more than a puncher's chance in this game against New England. I mean, they've always played them tough. I mean, every year they seem to knock off New England at least once. And the way Darnold played last week, Charlton, if he can show any remnants of that performance he had last week against Aaron Rodgers, I think the Jets will at least cover the spread in this game.
Yeah, they may cover the spread, but I don't think they get that win. Big C, the Jaguars, man, last year their season came to an end in the right there in the AFC Championship game. They were ahead by 10 points at Foxborough in New England. We just talked about them. Well, they're 5-10 now. They're at the Texans 10-5. That's a 1:00 kickoff Eastern Time on CBS Sports. The Texans are favored by 7. If Watson plays the way he's capable of playing and that defense stands up, Jacksonville has nothing to play for. That might be a double-digit win. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, Blake Bortles does have something to play for, Charlton. He's hoping that they'll pay off the rest of that contract that they signed into early in the season, because he's going to be starting this game. Cody Kessler got knocked out last week, and Blake Bortles had to finish the game. And Jacksonville won the game with Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
But Blake Bortles been a little inept this year as a starting quarterback, Charlton. I don't like him staying around in Jacksonville. They're going to be looking to move from him at the end of the season.
Yep.
So he's hoping to have a good swan song going out the door.
Well, Big C, that'll be a door he'll walk through. Big C, the Falcons 6-9 at the Buccaneers 5-10. That's a 1:00 kickoff Eastern Time on Fox Sports. The Falcons are favored by 1 on the road. You got to score a lot of points against Tampa to win. And will Winston be there next year in Tampa? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I really don't think that Jameis Winston will be in Tampa next year, nor the head coach Dirk Cutter, Charlton. But Atlanta, it's been a disappointing season for them. You got one of the top receivers in football, and Julio Jones. He leads all receivers in yards, in receptions, Charlton.
Yep.
But Matt Ryan is right up there in yardage. But, I look at this Falcons team, Charlton, and you wonder why they can't seem to get over the hump with the offensive power they have at quarterback and at receiver.
Yeah.
They got 3 excellent receivers. Everybody wants to blame it on the offensive coordinator. I mean, as a quarterback in Matt Ryan, even though he has great stats, he hasn't made the plays when it really counted, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has this panic button in him, and he just can't seem to solve it yet.
Yeah, he learns to press that panic button. Speaking of another panic button, there's no need to panic. The Panthers, of course, out of the playoffs. They're 6-9 on the season. Newton's not going to play. They're at the Saints 13-2. The Saints, do they need to win this to wrap up home field advantage? You don't want to go into the playoffs with a loss. They're going to get the bye week. You don't want to rest players for 2 weeks. I think that's my thoughts anyway. The Saints 13-2, 1:00 kickoff Eastern Time on Fox. And the Saints are favored by 7.5. Carolina really has nothing to play for, but the Saints have everything to play for. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think the Saints got a little bit of that mojo back last week against the Steelers, Charlton. And Sean Payton is not going to set his team back, Charlton, said, hey, I'm just going to rest the veterans. He's going to go out to win this game. The Saints really understand how important home field advantage is throughout the NFC playoffs, Charlton. I mean, that's a college atmosphere down in the Superdome, Charlton, when the Saints are at home. And they need that to motivate them. If you look at Carolina, Charlton, they're playing a backup rookie quarterback who was injured last week. And so the Saints are going to go all out after him, Charlton. And Christian McCaffrey is a great offensive weapon, but he's not going to be enough to hold off the Saints.
No, he can't. The Saints should go marching into the end zone plenty of times. The Lions 5-10. I mean, I guess they think they did a good job by letting go of Caldwell, who went 9-7 to finish up 5-11. It seems, because they're at the Packers 6-8-1. That's a 1 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time on Fox Sports, and the Packers are favored by 8. I know Aaron Rodgers has gotten a couple of guys dismissed from his team, from his coach to a couple of players. He'll probably want to end the season strong because he's going to have to find a coach that can coach him. His ego's so big. It's almost like one of those commercials with State Farm. They have a guy flushing he went to the restroom, didn't use a toilet. It's just not a good commercial. But their season's also been down in the toilet. And you got to blame the most highly paid player in the NFL. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I mean, this Packers team has just been an abysmal team really the past 2 years. And you know, they got to find direction. You know, they're going to have to go out and get a new coach. But this Detroit team, Charlton, is no better off. They get rid of a coach that had a winning record last year in Caldwell. They bring in Patricia from New England. But the problem in Detroit, Charlton, is Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
It's time for the Detroit Lions to move on from Matthew Stafford.
Yep.
They're going to have to facilitate a trade with another team, Charlton. But he's the cancer with that organization because he's making a lot of money and he's not giving it back in wins. And so it's time to move on. I like Green Bay closing this game out. And they're in Green Bay. It's going to be cold. You're not going to be playing in the Ford Field of Detroit.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're going to have to hanker down on staying warm.
Yeah. That's always a good way to end the season at Lambeau Field. The Cowboys, how about the Cowboys? 9-6 at the Giants, 5-10. The Cowboys should go to 10-6. 1 o'clock kickoff Eastern Time on Fox Sports. And the Giants are favored by 6. I don't know why. Maybe something's going on that we don't know about. I know the Cowboys won the division, but don't do what they did when they went into Philadelphia a couple of years ago and started resting players, and they let Romo play just to satisfy his ego for some reason, and they ended up being knocked out of the playoffs by Green Bay. They don't want that to happen again. They got to put their foot down on the Giants. Big C, your thoughts?
Yeah, Charlton, for the second time in 3 years, the Cowboys have won the Eastern Division, Charlton. This game, I don't see them resting players. I see them keeping everybody on the field and going out winning this game. You got to have momentum when you go into the playoffs. You don't want to try to tiptoe in. You want to go in there riding on a steamroller, Charlton. Yeah. And the Cowboys need to go handle business against the Giants to prove that they are the superior team in the NFC East.
I remember back in the day, Jimmy Johnson, they were playing the 49ers. They ended up winning 38-21. And I remember Jimmy Johnson before the game, he said, we're going to get them down. We're going to pound them. We're going to pound them. We're going to pound them. Maybe they'll play that tape going into New York. Big C. The Eagles 8-7. America's darling team. Last year's defending Super Bowl champions. They got to get some type of luck to get in. They're at the Redskins 7-8. That game is 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time kickoff on Fox Sports. The Eagles are favored by 7. I don't care what their record is. They're playing some of the best football in the NFC. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a game that the Eagles desperately need, and they're going to be playing lights out against the Redskins. The Redskins team has been in a shambles. They've gone through their fourth quarterback now in Josh Johnson. They will be taking the snaps, and we saw that he struggled last week, Charlton, in that game versus the Titans.
Yeah.
Nick Foles has been lights out for the Eagles last year and this year, Charlton, to finish up the season. This team believes in him, and so they're getting motivated by what he brings to the table, Charlton. They need this game to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, well, speaking of playoffs, Big C, the Bears 11-4. They're at the Vikings 8-6-1. That's a 4:25 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time on Fox Sports. Now, the Vikings are favored by 4. But don't let the smooth taste fool you. If you're the Bears, you're 11-4 right now. You can go to 12-4. But the Rams, I will cover the Rams later, but Gurley's not playing for the Rams. They're 12-3. We know head-to-head the Bears have that advantage. But if they fall at the Vikings and the Rams win, then they're not looking at getting a home playoff game. This is the game where they got to bring their defense and they got to bring a better offense. I think it's a game. This is a playoff game for the Bears. Big C. If Kirk Cousins doesn't get in, well, he got the money anyway, so I guess he wins no matter what. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is a game, especially for the Bears. If you're facing a divisional opponent, and you can eliminate them from the playoffs, you eliminate them, Charlton.
Yeah.
And that's what the Bears are playing for.
Yeah.
They don't want to play the Vikings again in 3 weeks, Charlton.
No.
They want to get them out of the playoffs now and let the chips fall where they may with another organization.
Yeah.
But you don't want to come back around having to play the Vikings again. You know, the Minnesota Vikings are a very disappointing team, Charlton. At this time, they had the NFC locked up last year, Charlton.
Yeah.
This year, they've been a struggle all year long. You know, playing your cousin, giving him all that money at quarterback. And, it's been abysmal.
Yeah.
You know, but I like what the Bears have done, Charlton. I think they're going to put consistent pressure on your cousin all night long and force him into a couple of turnovers.
Yeah.
And the Bears should secure that 12th win of the season.
Well, they may have the best defense in the NFC. That's how important it is for them to close out going into the playoffs strong. The 49ers 4-11 at the Rams 12-3. That's a 4:25 kickoff Eastern time on Fox Sports. And you look at the Rams, they're favored by 10, but there's no Todd Gurley. They should still get that win. But the Niners have always played them tough in L.A., Big C, even when they played in St. Louis. It's a game that's a division rival. The Rams have everything going for them. You got to right the ship going into the playoffs. If you get the bye, you can't go into the bye with a loss, Big C. Your thought?
Well, you know, everybody talked about Todd Gurley being an MVP candidate, Charlton, but people forgot Aaron Donald may be the MVP. When you think about it, I know he's the MVP of the Rams. You know, he's 3 sacks shy of the NFL record.
Yeah.
Playing at defensive tackle, not defensive end.
And double team.
Defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Getting double teamed every play.
Yeah.
But the Rams, you know, C.J. Anderson stepped up to the plate last week, Charlton, with 126 yards on the ground. So I think the Rams' offense is fine. They will go out and they will run them over in this game, Charlton. They will secure, you know, second place in the NFC, Charlton, by this win. But the Bears are right on their heel, and they don't want to go back to Soldier Field and have to play later on.
That's a very good point, Big C. When I look at another game, you have the Cardinals 3-12 at the Seahawks 9-6. That's a 4:25 kickoff Eastern time on Fox Sports. Seahawks favored by 13.5, and they should be. Pete Carroll had his contract extended. That man has worked magic. It might be maybe one of the top coaching jobs of the season, because they didn't start off strong, Big C. A lot of people were kind of doubting the Seahawks. They had a rough road there, but they bounced back. I think the Seahawks get this win at home, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Seahawks were doubted ever since the draft, Charlton, when they drafted Rashad Penny in the first round.
Yeah.
And everyone doubted them. They said, well, the Legion of Boom is gone, so there's nothing. Russell Wilson can't carry an NFL franchise. You know, he's been to the Super Bowl twice.
Twice.
So I don't know what all the preponderance mean by he can't carry an NFL franchise.
Yeah.
You know, look around the league and see what he has done, Charlton. He's accounted for more of his team scoring over the last 2 years than any other quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, so Russell Wilson is a bona fide leader. We saw the shootout last week with Mahomes, Charlton.
Yep.
Just a tremendous quarterback battle of two tremendous talents. This game against the Cardinals, Charlton, the Cardinals have what? You know, they're waiting on the game to get over so they can fire their coach, Steve Wilkes. That's all.
Yeah, unfortunately, so Big C. The Browns, 7-7-1. They're at the Ravens, 9-6. Ravens got to have this win if they're even going to get the wild card spot. A 4:25 kickoff Eastern time on CBS Sports. The Ravens are favored by 6. If you look at their quarterback, Big C, I think everybody put so much negativity on Lamar Jackson. Think about this coach. This coach was on the hot seat in Harbaugh. Jackson was being told by all the pundits on the other networks that don't get the facts right. Oh, he played defensive back. He'd be a great wide receiver, but he lacks what he needs to be an NFL quarterback. Because of him, the Ravens have a chance, Big C. All you need is a chance. On the other side, Baker Mayfield, you know, him taunting another coach in Hugh Jackson, that sends a message to players, defensive guys in the league. They don't like that. Will he even stay healthy through this game, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's going to be under tremendous pressure. And I think one of the things with Baker Mayfield in this game, Charlton, he's going to do a lot of pressing to get the Browns over 500 for the season, Charlton. We predicted it at the start of this year that they would win 8 games, Charlton. And they're on the pressure of winning 8 games.
Yeah.
But, you know, when you look at where the Ravens are, Charlton, their season is on the line.
Yeah.
They have to have this game to solidify a playoff spot, Charlton. They win, they're in.
Yeah.
It's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. They win, they're in. Lamar Jackson's 5-1 as a starter, Charlton. He motivates that defense for the Raiders. They're a tremendous group on that side of the ball. And They don't get the credit that they should. But Lamar Jackson has been like a coach for the defense for the Raiders, Charlton, because they're not 3 downs and back on the field every time, Charlton. He's generally generating at least 1 first down. So they're getting a rest on the sideline, Charlton. And when your defense can get a rest, they're going to put a lot of pressure on that opposing quarterback.
A lot of pressure. A couple of more games, Big C. You have the Bengals 6-9 at the Steelers 8-6-1. CBS Sports. Steelers by 14.5. Why the half? Just say 14, Big Z. And that's a game where obviously, 2 African-American coaches that have been consistent playoff coaches, Big C. But there's a lot of talk in mainstream about if someone needs to be replaced. We'll see what happens. But I want to get your thoughts. It's at Pittsburgh. Will Ben Roethlisberger score? Will you throw more touchdowns and interceptions? The only question, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is one of the most bitter rivalries in all of the NFL. This is always called the Flag Bowl.
Yeah.
When these two teams get together, I mean, they generally hate each other.
Yep.
I see the Steelers just dominating this game, Charlton, with Juju Schuster and Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
Two tremendous receivers, Charlton. At the end of this game, they'll be the first set of receivers in NFL history to have accumulated 110 catches each in the same season.
Wow, that's incredible.
They will get that accomplished. Ben Roethlisberger will pass for over 5,000 yards.
Yep.
Marvin Lewis will lose his job when this game is over, Charlton, with Cincinnati. They don't have a quarterback. Jeff Driscoll, their backup quarterback, has been playing the past couple of weeks because Andy Dalton was hurt. And coaches get blamed when players get hurt and they can't perform, especially if you're a minority coach and you have a losing record, Charlton. You might see one white coach lose his job this year, Charlton, and that would be in Tampa Bay. Dirk Cutter.
Yep.
Maybe even Gruden in Washington, but Dirk Cutter will be gone. But there'll be 4 black coaches fired, Charlton, on Monday.
Well, we hope that doesn't happen, but sometimes the factors on the wall. The Raiders 4-11 at the Chiefs 11-4. A 4:25 kickoff Eastern Time on CBS Sports Sunday, and the Chiefs are favored by 14. It's a game they could probably win by 20. It's going to be cold. They're a much better team than the Raiders, but I'm sure no matter what happens, Oakland really is looking for a home for next year, which their heart may not even be in this game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they played much better football last week in that victory on Monday night, but this is one of those bitter rivalries. When you think about the early days of the AFC, the Raiders and the Chiefs, I mean, these games are put together some of the most horrific fights in NFL lore, Charlton, the battles that these teams have done. But this is a game that the Chiefs desperately need, Charlton, to secure home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs as long as they're alive.
Yeah.
And another thing that the Chiefs are looking to do, Charlton, is to get Patrick Mahomes into some rarefied air, Charlton, that only 2 other players have done in NFL history, and that's Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
In the 50-touchdown club, Charlton. If Patrick Mahomes completes 2 touchdown passes, Charlton, he will join that rare club of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning passing for 50 touchdowns in a season, Charlton. But not only that, he's on the verge of passing for 5,000 yards in a first year as a starter in the NFL. Those are 2 records that will never be eclipsed, Charlton.
Yeah.
If you pass for 5,000 yards in your first year as a quarterback in the NFL and 50 touchdowns.
Well, Big C, you were saying how great he was when he was in college, not like everybody else jumping on the bandwagon this year. 2 more games. Chargers 11-4 at the Broncos 6-8. That's a 4:25 kickoff Eastern Time on CBS Sports, and the Chargers are favored by 6.5. Phillip Rivers, I know there's talk about maybe them being the hottest team at times in the NFL. I don't know that, but I know they got to get a win, and it's a mile high, so it's not always easy for a California team going in there winning. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's going to be cold up in Denver, but this is a game that the Chargers have to have. As we talk about teams that have solidified playoff spots, Charlton, it's not good to limp into the playoffs.
No.
Denver, they have nothing to play for. They're going to get rid of their coach, once the season is over, Charlton.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as a coach, you'd like to win them all, Charlton, but I think it's just too little, too late for Denver.
Yeah, last game, Big C, the Colts 9-6 at the Titans 9-6. This is a playoff game. It's a 8:20 p.m. kickoff Eastern Time on NBC Sports, and the Colts are favored by 3.5. This is the game where the Titans can run the ball. Henry's been amazing. They got to feature him as much as they do Mariota. At the same time, Andrew Luck, he needs one more game of luck. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Mariota Charlton is questionable for this game. He had a stinger last week that didn't allow him to grip the ball. Blaine Gabbert had to come in and finish. You got to lean heavily on Derrick Henry, though, Charlton. He's been a stud the last 4 or 5 games for the Titans. Charlton been very hard to bring down. But that Coach Young defense, Charlton, hasn't backed off of anybody all year long. You look at Andrew Luck, surprising player this year, Charlton. He's the number 2 quarterback in the AFC touchdown passes wise. He only trails Patrick Mahomes, Charlton, touchdown wise. So it's going to be a battle. Win you in, lose you go home in this game, Charlton. The winner of the Titans Colts game is in the playoffs. And so this is a pick-em game as far as I'm concerned. You got a great running game against a great passing game, Charlton, and 2 outstanding defenses.
Yeah, as always, fair and loving. We really love the way football is shaping up. I say that we hope everybody has success and stays healthy. Last thing, Big C, I'm going to run down the NBA schedule for Friday, December 28th. Brooklyn at Charlotte. Detroit is at Indiana. Toronto's at Orlando. Chicago's at Washington. Cleveland's at Miami. Atlanta's at Minnesota. Dallas is at New Orleans. San Antonio at Denver. Oklahoma City at Phoenix. And we have the LA Clippers at the LA Lakers. Big C, final thought. Durant missed a shot that could have won in the paint against Portland, and they fall at home again. Anything to be concerned about, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, like I said, basketball really doesn't concern me until I get to February. You lose a game here, you lose a game there. Have you lost 4 out of 7?
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. And that's not just with the Warriors. I mean, look at the Lakers. They lost LeBron James. Rajon Rondo just had hand surgery, Charlton.
Yeah.
Look how hot the Pelicans were at the start of the season.
Yeah.
They were the talk of the West. All of a sudden now they're in last place in that division.
That's true.
So it's a matter of consistency, Charlton. And once you get to February, the Warriors will get some more swagger back. Think about this. The Warriors have not had a dominant big man this year. Who did they have last year? They had JaVale McGee. And they had the other Lithuanian guy, Charlton, that they had.
Yeah.
They don't have a big man this year. Looney's not a stopper in the NBA.
No.
Once they put Cousins into the lineup, Charlton, the dynamic of this team will change. He's a guy with an attitude.
Yeah.
You got to have somebody with an attitude on the team.
Yep.
Draymond Green doesn't scare anybody.
No.
But you bring Boogie Cousins in, Charlton. He's a guy who doesn't mind getting a foul and a hard foul.
That's a hard foul. Big Z, we wish everybody a fair and loving war. This is our final Friday broadcast on Big C Sports for 2018. We'll come to you again on New Year's Eve. But I just want to say, everybody, have a lot of fun tonight in doing whatever you do, celebrating Friday, getting ready for this holiday weekend. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, I'm looking to an exciting weekend of overload football. I'm looking forward to 3 bowl games that matter, Charlton.
Yes.
You know, when we look at Michigan, Florida, we look at Oklahoma, Alabama, we're looking at Clemson, Notre Dame. I'm looking at NFL games, Charlton, that's going to send some people packing. We're going to all end up at the golf course in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But this is, it's almost a melancholy scenario when you look at this, Charlton. This is the final great weekend of college and professional football.
Yeah, it really is, and we look forward to it. But you can always look forward to Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, where you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, that's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.